Appreciate your call. Back to the phone lines. Mark, Centerville, Maryland, listening on the web. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Hank, how you doing?
Good.
First, I'd like to say I'm about halfway through Has God Spoken. I got it for Christmas, and I'm loving it. And the irony is I was on Netflix, and they have a religious section, which is kind of a joke. But they had a show I was watching about knowing who is Jesus or something like that, and I started watching it, and up pops Bart Ehrman. And, the scary thing is, if you didn't know any better and didn't know his background, they kind of portrayed him as a proponent of the faith. His title was some kind of Christian something, and the way he spoke was almost as if they were using him. But then, to kind of listen to what he's saying, it was a very secular view of Jesus and not the biblical view of Jesus. But anyway, that was aside. And my question is, in that same vein, is there a lot of hard evidence that there was never a primitive man and that man had started, with intelligence, as the Bible said? Because I know as a kid, I had to reconcile, not knowing any better, that there were monkey men at some point, and how do you mix that in with the Bible? Because that's what we were taught in school, and it was almost like, well, these are the facts. But as an adult, I know better now. But anyway, my question, again, is there hard evidence that man started out intelligent and didn't have a primitive state where they were like cavemen and had to learn how to use tools and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Adam and Eve were far more erudite than you and I. Now, we can do things that they couldn't do because we have an accumulation of knowledge over time that allows us to, develop iPhones.
Right.
I think the mythology that we have progressed or evolved in intelligence and acumen and so forth is simply wrong-headed thinking. I mean, if you look at what was done in early stages of human civilization, the building of the pyramids and much, much more, you have to marvel at the capabilities of our ancestors. So this whole notion that you have in the evolutionary paradigm, I think, is wrong-headed thinking, and it's been popularized by all kinds of people. I don't know if you remember Walter Cronkite, if you're that old, but
Oh, yes.
yeah, Walter Cronkite in Ape Men, the story of human evolution. Of course, he was the great CBS anchor that almost like a grandfather to America. He said, if you go back far enough, we and the chips share a common ancestor. My father's 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 father, going back maybe 500,000 generations, about 5 million years ago, was an ape. So that's the human story that's being perpetuated in our civilization, that we are actually evolved apes, and we're going to continue evolving. But if you look at that, ultimately it leads to all kinds of atrocities, including racism, where you have a hierarchy of races, as Darwin put it, that the Caucasians had beaten the Turkish Hollow in the struggle for existence at no very distant date. An endless number of lower humans will have evolved to higher capacities and so forth. And so he saw the Negroid stock as being lower than the Caucasian stock. And so you have a gradation of races. But that's not part of the Christian worldview. In the Christian worldview, we're just all people. We didn't evolve to higher stages, but we're all just people. And we're endowed by God at the very beginning of human civilization with Adam and Eve with what's called the imago Dei, the image of God. And that image of God is what sets us apart. We're created, and that, by the way, is why even at the embryonic stages of human civilization, to take the life of another person was a horrendous crime. It was an assault against God himself.